promised yesterday on Discord, I promised people that I would sing, if Sinnoh remakes were confirmed, I would sing the first Japanese opening of the Diamond and Pearl anime on stream. And so before I begin actually discussing, and while I wait for my co-commentator to get ready, I'm going to sing this. Note that I'm not fluent in Japanese, I've just listened to this so many times that I can basically sing it off by heart, although there were a few words that I've forgotten. とてよけ不屈の心もて高い天眼山越えてゆこう誰をゲットかなどこで出会うかなワクワク気分まるで秘密基地さ新しい街僕らは進む輝くの日の中輝く時の中で甘くないサバトルはいつだってただ辛い苦い渋い酸っぱいね満ちてる生きてるんだか生きてるだから感じよ一緒にアクアジェットで吹っ飛ばしてけもやもや気分切り払いして泥くらい無法が乗り越えたら Good smile 見えなGood smile except Porygon's evolutionary line, screw those guys. And also, I have a problem where if I listen to things in another language a lot, I keep mishearing it. Oh, hi Crafty Mint 6 Gaming, by the way. If I'm set at the stream right, it should only display my main Google Chrome window, and I've got the chat open in a different window, so I'm hoping you can't see the chat pop up, but if you can, please let me know and I'll try to fix it. Oh, my co-commentator's here now.
Hi, hello. I didn't know if I was going to be queued in or if I just had to turn up and crash the party, but hello, yes, I am here.
So, the other day, by which I mean yesterday, I almost forgot what date it was, don't we all? Two new Pokemon games were announced. One of them was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is honestly the one I have more to say about, and the other is Legends Arceus. I almost said Legends Arceus Sinnoh, but that's not the right title. And I suppose that first I should talk about my experience with Diamond and Pearl. I really didn't like Pokemon Diamond as a kid, but it's also the game I've kept the longest, whereas other games I'm nostalgic for, I've either sold multiple copies of and then bought them again, or given them away to friends briefly. In this, I've had the same copy of Diamond since basically 2008 or whenever I got it, and I wanted to get Pearl, but because it was pink and that was my favourite colour back then, but Diamond was the only version I had in stock in game that day. And even though I got frustrated by how slow it was still nevertheless taught me the value of perseverance, and so it will hold a special place in my heart for that reason, and also the sense of discovering new Pokemon as well. Because obviously I hadn't watched every single episode of the anime, and there were still Pokemon that hadn't appeared in the anime up to the point where I played it. So what about you, Tess? How do you feel? If you're still here...
Well, I am... Is there that much of a delay? Dang. Yeah. Diamond and Pearl were, like... They were not my first experience with the Pokemon games, but they were sort of my first big experience of it, because I was going year 7, year 8 kind of in high school when they were prominent. And so that's the time when everyone else was playing it, and so it's... Like, Pokemon Diamond was the one that I put the most time into, so it was kind of inevitable that there was going to be a remake of them eventually. And yeah, we've had Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and now we have Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which the abbreviation is...
Something that sounds dirty. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I just don't.
unfortunate.
This is a PG-13 channel,
Of
so
course,
let's
of
leave
course.
it at that.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what's this, what dirty thing, it sounds like then I envy your innocence. Anyway.
Yeah, just stay forever young. But I do like what they've done with the logos. Like I like the hard edges of the Brilliant Diamond one versus like the curves on Shining Pearl.
Yeah.
So they definitely put thought into the branding of it. And when I first saw the trailer, I was worried about the art style because I thought, well, oh, this looks a little bit questionable. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute, no, I've been away from the series for a while. Like I played X and Y and Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and I just sort of skipped Gen 7, and I've been streaming Pokemon Sword since then. And so I've been a little bit spoiled on Sword's graphics, but then it's a remake. Of course, it's going to look more like the original.
Yeah. I'll talk about my thoughts on the art style in a minute, but I haven't really thought much about the logos, but I'm not really the biggest fan of them, because, like, usually the borders just look a bit, like, out of place, because most Pokemon games don't have them, and then the font is exactly the same as it was in the original, which I suppose is a nice touch, but then I like the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire logos better. I hope the Japanese logos look good. I'm going to go on Bulbapedia real quick and see if they've got the images there.
That is true. The Japanese logos do tend to have a lot more like thought and style put into them compared to the Western ones.
And they don't have any images here. But I do like these 3D renders because they kind of like, I just like how it's like basically the original poses but in a more shaded style. It kind of but more like softer shaded style, and it kind of reminds me of the official artwork for Pokemon Mission Dungeon Explorers. And as for the game's art style, I'm going to play the video, but I'm going to mute it. Okay, first of all, I'm going to skip this because it's quite long, but Piplup's back sprite is an image that is burned into my memory because that was the one I picked the first time. I don't really like the art style. It just looks a bit... It just looks a bit like a step back. Like when I heard it was going to be chibi because I was seeing some leaks mentioned on Bulba Garden, I thought it would look something a bit like Let's Go, and as much as I don't like Let's Go in concept, it wasn't because of the art style, it's because I just think it's a bit condescending. I mean, there are some nice touches, like how they actually show the picture on the screen and of like what the program you watch at the start about the red Gyarados, and I don't like how in Platinum they changed it from a continuity reference to a generic platitude about how Pokemon are our friends, blah blah blah. And it's kind of like, I know that was in Sword and Shield as well, where the television showed the stock exchange, as Tess called it once.
I did?
Like in an episode of your Sword live stream, I can't remember which one it was. You were in some hotel.
I probably did. I
just noticed the desktop wallpaper. It looks a bit like the mountains as well, but from a different angle. Yeah, is this turning into Game Explain, where I analyse every frame of the trailer now?
Top 10 things you missed in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Yeah, but also, I never liked the design of beds in this game. It just always looked a bit weird, like hospital beds, or like what I assume they look like. But I just realised they're the colours of the Diamond and Pearl logo, light blue and light pink. So that's a nice touch.
I was going to say it looks a little bit hospital-y as well. And you mentioned the change at the opening, like goes from continuity nod to something much more generic. I do wonder how much of Platinum they're going to incorporate into Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, because I feel like I'm the only person on the planet who actually, like, I appreciate what Platinum did, but I don't like what they changed it to an extent.
Like, I could never get into Platinum, and that's mainly because I didn't play it until years after it was released, and I think by then I'd already done the replay of Diamond that got me to appreciate the game more, which was back in 2012, and I only realised that because I needed to trade with myself to Soul Silver in order to evolve my Graveler in Soul Silver, and I realised I hadn't touched that file since, like, 2013. And it was quite a blast from the past, and it also made me realise how tiny the original 3DS is compared to the new one, specifically the new 2DS XL. And
The size difference is immense.
And now the Ace Trainer has even greener hair. I just noticed that, and now it's bothering me. He looks like he's made of...
me now as well.
He looks like a Rillaboom, or like he's made of moss or something. And someone pointed out this...
I'm thinking exactly the same thing.
Oh. Someone pointed out this Pokemon contest advertisement thing on top of the billboard. Someone on Twitter, that is. And I still see the sign. This is just me. I swear that pattern of sort of gibberish text was on the original version of signs. Oh, and this is something else from Platinum. Someone pointed out that this lady who was introduced. This lady here gives you the Gracidia flower in Platinum, but obviously she wasn't in Diamond and Pearl because Shaman wasn't programmed in because this was the days before handheld games could be patched. Also, now the flower shop place looks like it's 2 stories tall, and I don't think it was before. Have they changed it slightly, or is it just because of the perspective makes it look bigger than it actually is?
I think it's a perspective thing, because it looks true enough to the original, but in this new style. Although the flowers look so much blockier, though, which, like, I appreciate that Floroma Town is very, here are blocks of flowers, but I don't know, something about the beds that they're planted in look so much more blocky than they did in the original.
Yeah, I think it's
Maybe
because...
that's just me.
Mate, I think the placement of the flowers is a bit more orderly than the original, but I can't really remember. I do think this is one of the nicest looking places overall, because the grass just looks good. And the Pokemon's here, which kind of reminds me of before Omega Ruby, we knew that character customization wouldn't be in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I saw someone speculate that they would replace all the Pokemon's with boutiques because the Pokemon's are merged with Pokemon Centers now, and they didn't do that, and I kind of wish they did. I was hoping to do it in this game, but alas.
Yeah, that's a shame. That would make too much sense. And when I discovered in Gen 8 that they had merged the two completely seamlessly, my mind was blown. But
Did you
then
not
again,
play
I've been
Gen
away for a
5?
while. I played Gen 5, yeah, but, like, it felt... I don't know, Gen 5, it didn't hit me. Then Gen 8, I'm like, whoa, that's a Pokemon inside the Pokemon. I don't know why Gen 5, it didn't register with me.
I remember when Gen 5 was first released, I just saw people always complaining about it and like how they were the worst Pokemon games ever because they looked so pixelated and the Pokemon's being merged with Pokemon Centers was a bad thing apparently. But now people don't really say that anymore, and now they're considered some of the best and they want long to return to those days. And this is what I don't like about art style. In the art style, in a vacuum it looks fine. This transition looks a bit flat, but it looks fine. The problem is that
like a straight carbon copy of what it was on the original.
Yeah.
But just maybe upscaled.
The problem is that now it looks like the battles in the overworld, I think, there's a disconnect between the battles in the overworld that doesn't need to exist anymore through the power of, because we have 3D models, we have the technology to make the transition look slightly more seamless than it is. Not slightly more seamless, more seamless than it actually is what I meant to say. And I've seen some people say it looks like they forgot to turn on the shading for the player models, and I can definitely see where they're coming from. And here's my boy Piplup. What's funny is...
It'll never be as egregious as the shadows in Colosseum and XD, where Jumpluff is just 3 squares.
Oh yeah, because they reused the models from the the Stadium games, and I guess it was a problem with the lighting. Although apparently they fixed that in XD, but... Also, I saw a YouTuber point out that Piplup has a dynamic shadow, and this has never happened in a main series Pokemon game before. So that's kind of cool.
Oh. Also, for what it's worth, Piplup was also my first Sinnoh starter. My second choice was Turtwig, and I did that in Pearl, but no, Piplup, best boy/girl.
Okay. And also Piplup was my partner in Explorers of Time as well, because... Obviously, the reason I chose Piplup in Diamond in the first place was because I didn't really know... really know much about the other two, because Piplup was really prominent in the anime, but Ash hadn't caught Chimchar probably by the time I bought Diamond, because he gets Chimchar in like episode 96-ish or something. It originally belongs to Paul, and I can't remember much when he got Turtwig. And what's interesting is that most of the Generation 4 Pokemon they're showing here are ones that aren't in Sword and Shield. Granted, they're also early route Pokemon, but you got Bidoof, you got Starly, and you got Geodude, which I know is a Gen 1 Pokemon, but it's also not in Sword and Shield, so it still fits the pattern. And the water texture looks really nice, even though you only see it very briefly.
That it does.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that like picking your starter Pokemon in order to fend off an attack is much more interesting than just like walking up and seeing, walking up to the top because you want to be a thrill seeker because Barry is a thrill seeker or something, and then going, and then Professor Rowan just happens to show up and he's like, oh, have a Pokemon, and then you just have to go to Lake Verity anyway, even though there's not really any real reason to, just to see Cyrus or whoever it was monologuing to himself.
So, credit where it's due, I do like that they at least switch up the reason why you get Pokemon in each game. So it could be worse, I guess.
Oh yeah, and also in like in I like something I liked about Ultra Sun and Moon, because I played Ultra Moon a month ago, is that they made the starters a bit more prominent, because Hal mentions his starter a lot, and it's usually walking with him, and then your starter like shows up at basically if the three starters show up to save you at the start of the game, and then in the end, if you have your starter in your party and you go up to the top of Mount Lanakila into the Elite Four place that I can't remember, the Pokemon League, obviously that's what it's called, then there's a cutscene where it comes out of its Pokeball, and then I think you walk into the building with it, but I can't actually remember. But I thought that was
Gen
nice.
7 completely alien to me, so I wouldn't know.
Didn't buy Ultra Sun and Moon until years after they were released either, because I just thought they were too similar to Sun and Moon to be worth it. And I haven't bought any Gen 8 Sword or Shield, because all the negative press just turned me off it. But I did get Rescue Team DX, which I think was the first Pokemon game I'd bought in years at the time. Which is a Gen 8 game, even if it has only literally 2 superficial things from Gen 8. And if you're wondering, those are the spelling of Vice Grip with an S, which is bothering me because I want to pronounce it as Vise, and all-female Eevee having a heart on their tail, which I know was in Let's Go as well, but in Let's Go it was only the partner Eevee.
I will say that Gen 8, like, having streamed most of it at this point on my own channel, Tessellating Hexagons, hi, that's me, like, it's not as bad as, like, some of the press has made it out to be, but, like, there are some problems with it that I really think that they should have either, like, not advertised the games until they were closer to being done, or like, maybe just patched it to put more of the story into the game, because there are some obvious holes in it where, like, hopefully, you know, in about 50 years when we get the Gen 8 remakes, they'll put some of the story back in.
By then we'll be able to have video games telepathically beamed into our brains or something.
Ah, but of course, you'll take actual psychic damage. If you die in the game, you die for real.
Where is that a quote from, by the way? Is it like a reference to Sword Art Online or something?
I don't know.
Sword Art Online is an anime about people being trapped in a video game, and if they they have to fight all the bosses to escape, but nobody can be bothered to do that, and I got bored of it after 7 episodes. But anyway, back on topic. I just noticed that, like, the shading in this shot isn't very good either, because they're underground, and there's a, like, glowy light, and there's, like, a soft orange glow, but they just look like they're standing out in broad daylight.
Yeah, and, I mean, this is most likely in one of the cave areas, but there is a part of me thinking, you could have battles in the underground now? What are they gonna do with the underground?
Oh yeah,
because fancy 3D version of secret bases and mining. I look forward to it. I like that.
I liked the mining in Diamond and Pearl a lot. It was like, because usually the items you get in it are ones that you would in other games only get one of each. Like, there's a list on Bulbapedia that I discovered an article called Mutually Exclusive Pokemon. And did you know that in Ruby and Emerald, but not Sapphire, you can only get one Moonstone? And in Sapphire you can get multiple because they're held by Wild Soul Rock. But anyway,
game design.
You thought that this was the underground, which is funny because I just realised that it has similar looking torches, but then the walls in this look like they're made of the fossil layer rather than rocks that are cracked and stuff like that. But then again, Pokemon isn't exactly known for having matching battle backgrounds. Oh, there's Krogan. You missed it, but there were 2 more Gen Pokemon, Tin 4 Pokemon that weren't in Sword and Shield, Ambipom and Kricketune. And Floatzel is also not in Sword and Shield, and there it is. And I've been using a Floatzel in Soul Silver for the Battle Frontier, but here it is. Here's the boy, the legend, the myth, Porygon ZZZZ. I pronounce it Porygon Z in my head out of habit because most PokeTubers are Americans, and that's the most time I hear, and that's usually when I hear it said out loud. But this gives me hope that it'll have the Platinum Pokedex.
See, because of the past experience that I had with Diamond and how much time put into it, it never really clicked with me that the difference between that and Platinum was that significant. And for the record, I've always said it Z in my head because I'm a bloody-minded Brit and you can't tell me what to say. But if this does suggest that Platinum will influence the Pokédex, I do wonder if that will, like, if they're going to keep the gym order from Platinum, because that was my biggest complaint with it. Like, no, Fantina is number 5, not number 3. Don't make me find them out of order by saying I'm doing not out of order.
But it's kind of stupid that you go to Heart Home City, but you just can't fight the gym leader there until later.
And this is true. At least Petalburg City handled it well in Gen 3, so I can understand maybe they were trying to do that again, but it's in my mind now. Maylene is number 3. Don't make me fight the ghosts too soon. I'm not ready yet.
And let's definitely not make the gym puzzle maths this time.
Oh, that reminds me of I did play some Platinum, like, many years ago on a broken DS where, like, there was something wrong with the top screen, so, like, everything was, like, tinted massively red.
Oh,
which
that...
meant,
Oops.
which meant that the Heart Home Gym puzzle was impossible because I couldn't see the symbols.
Oh, yeah, I had that happen to my original DS Lite, where the top screen, the hinge of the top screen was breaking off, so, like, it just kept looking distorted, and I accidentally clicked off this, so... Oh, and also, here's the statue that caused a bit of a stir on Twitter, because it looks like Dialga or Dialga or whatever and Palkia together. But when I was little, I always thought the statue was just depicting Dialga, and they were also kept Dialga in Platinum because Diamond was the base development version. But then it turns out that it's actually ambiguous, and that in the original game, and that the sprite can be interpreted as either Dialga or Palkia, depending on how you look at it. And also, by the way, this game got me back on Twitter, so that's good, I guess.
I was always interpreting it as it was supposed to, like, it wasn't meant to represent a fusion of them, but it was meant to depict something that, oh, well, it could be this, it could be that, so that, well, like, the Doyalist explanation is so they can use the same graphic in both games, and then Platinum, it just happened to be a fortunate coincidence. But the Watsonian explanation is, oh, well, we don't know what they look like, so we've made this, and accidentally it's right about both of them.
And also, there was the version of it in Pokemon Adventures that Sugar Conroy showed a picture of in his Let's Play. Also, it looks like his kind of... It just look, the angle on this is, perspective on this is a bit weird. It looks like one of those optical illusions where you can't tell where something's legs are, because they look like it has different kinds of legs, and it looks like that one's coming from a slightly different place to that one.
And this has got me thinking as well, like, I don't mean to jump around topics-wise, but because this is in Eterna City, I'm thinking, are they going to have the gym puzzles from Platinum? Because, admittedly, the Eterna City gym wasn't that great either way, but at least the Platinum version was a bit more visually entertaining. But, like, are they going to repeat those? Are they going to redesign them from the ground up? I'd actually kind of be okay with that as well. But I don't know. That's the point. The city that has the 8th gym. I know this isn't relevant to anything, but I have to lay
Sunny
this
Shore.
I've always pronounced it Sunny Shore because they only put one N in. I know it's because of a character limit, but I can't.
I didn't realise that until relatively recently, and it's bothered me for a bit. And also, I can't find a picture of the both statue in Pokemon Adventures on Bulbapedia, so here's just a sentence describing it instead.
Surprisingly, it's a statue that looks a bit like both. It's almost one and not quite the other.
Also, this is really pretty, but I don't like how Eterna City looks like a generic Tokyo-ish place, when in the games it's supposed to be, like, all rustic and old-fashioned and stuff like that.
Now, I'm wondering now that it's crossed my mind, because Eterna City's music is reused in Celestic Town,
Yes.
I want to say? I wonder if they're going to give them, like, different... Like, it's the same song, but remixed in 2 different ways. Like, in the Link's Awakening remake, they remixed the dungeon theme for... So it's still the same song, but they gave different remixes to each dungeon.
Yeah,
I'm hoping they do that here.
Yeah, I was hoping to do that too, because Pastoria City and Salacion Town also share music. And I can't remember if they did that in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Did any locations share themes in the originals? But I swear that in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Ecruteak and Olivine City had the same theme originally, and it was remixed differently in the remakes. But
yeah, because I remember Ecruteak City sounded so much like they'd really doubled down on the Japaneseness, whereas Olivine City they kept it a bit more Western. And the only place that I can remember from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is Fortree City and the Hidden Bases. And off the top of my head, I cannot remember how they handled the music there.
I think the Fortree City version's slower paced.
That would make sense.
But I can't really remember. It's been a while since I played it. But also, is anyone actually watching this stream? Because I got one comment from Crafty Mint 6 Gaming ages ago, and that's it.
Don't worry about it. If you build it, they will come. Like with hidden bases in the
Oops, I
underground.
accidentally clicked out again. Remember Blissey bases? But anyway, I've lost my train of thought.
Is there anything else to say about Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl? I mean, I'm guessing they're going to tie it into the Pokemon Breath of the Wild game by actually having the Hall of Origin accessible in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Oh yeah,
rather
that'd be
than-
cool, and it'd be like the Delta episode where you catch Deoxys at the end.
Yeah, it could be so cool. I look forward to seeing what they do with it. And for that matter, they're going to bring back the Distortion World. Again, that was a cool idea, but it's not canon because it wasn't in Diamond.
But also, what's bothering me is that a lot of people keep reading way too deep into the wording they use as faithful remakes, because they're like, oh my gosh, is Fairy type going to be in this game or not? Because like for the past 7 years, people have been thinking that every Pokemon remake won't include the Fairy type, just like how Fire Red and Leaf Green didn't include the Dark and Steel type. So wait, they did. Like, I really want to know if people didn't think if there are people who thought Dark and Steel wouldn't be in Fire Red and Leaf Green back before it was released. Does anyone want to go spelunking into the ancient internet to find out?
In the same way that when Black and White were first being teased, people, like, for some reason, people were like, oh, there aren't going to be any gym leaders, but there'll also be 5 gym leaders, and also you play as a gym leader. Like, oh, okay, sure, that's exactly what's going to happen. But one theory that I've heard, and I am very much on board with this, is that there are actually 2 Pokemon universes side by side, and the remakes take place in one while the originals take place in another. And this isn't just as an explanation of how the same game can happen more than once, but during the Delta episode of Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which admittedly I haven't played, I don't know anything about the story of that.
Oh
other
yeah,
than
that's what I was
it happened.
thinking. Is that I remember my train of thought now. Zinnia says there are parallel universes, like there's a parallel universe where there's no Mega Evolution.
And I'm guessing that like Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl take place in the universe where they won't necessarily have Mega Evolution, but it's a universe that does, which means that they're allowed to include Fairy type, whereas the originals are in the universe that didn't have Mega Evolution and therefore had yet to discover the Fairy type, as if the two are in any way linked, apart from because they both started in Kalos. Anyway, I cannot stay for too much longer, so I'm just going to throw out there, new Pokemon Snap, very hyped, I'm going to get it, but I know that most people probably do not care.
Yeah, I kind of like the look of it. It's not something I'm massively excited for it, but I might get it if I can find it cheap. And also, I like how they put Dawn with Pepple up here. It's not in the trailer, but it's a nice reference to the anime. And here's the Legends thing. To be honest, I'm not that interested in it because it just doesn't look like my cup of tea, but I kind of like the idea of the Pokemon world, the backstory they show. Like, this kind of reminds me of how when I first played Monster Hunter Stories, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this could be like what the Pokemon world was like before Pokeballs were invented. Because
And then Pokeballs turn up.
Yeah, but then there are Pokeballs in this game, which kind of reminds me, there's also a throwaway line in Pokemon Conquest where someone mentions Pokeballs, which confused me for a bit and made me wonder if it took place at the same time as the modern games, but now I can just know that Pokemon existed in a time period that vaguely resembles feudal Japan. Also,
Thought that I've just had, or thought that I had when I saw the trailer, is bearing in mind the way that the title is formatted, Pokemon Legends, Arceus, or Arceus, I always pronounced it Arceus, but now they've codified it as Arceus, and I appreciate them doing that. But this sounds like there are going to be other games that focus on other legendaries in other regions at the same period of time. Maybe? That's just me theorizing.
yeah,
I'm going to hold off until I know more about the gameplay before I invest in it, because it looks like they're going to overcharge for it, and it might not be to my taste, because I personally don't like Breath of the Wild, and this looks like Pokemon Breath of the Wild, but it could be interesting, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic.
Oh, hi Alex, because he just entered the chat, but I just realised I really like the screen, the skyness. I'm cautiously optimistic about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, because I'm hoping that there'll be one thing in the trailer that really just gets my interest, like The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I wasn't interested in it until they revealed Hilda, and by extension Lorule, and I've been obsessed with parallel universes ever since.
It is a fascinating concept, because I was never big on Link to the Past. Like, I thought it was alright, but not the best thing ever. And I enjoyed Link Between Worlds. It's not my favorite, but it's up there. So
Oh.
maybe Legends will do the same thing.
Oh, look, I just realised that people compare this shot to Breath of the Wild, but I only just realised that mountain is Mount Coronet. And also, they say someone leaked a Chinese version of the Legends trailer, and I was a bit confused because I thought it would be for the actual Diamond and Pearl remix, and I was wondering what Piplup was doing in the wild, and now I know why. I wonder what that arch is. It looks important, and that bay looks nice as well.
There's clearly a part of the story will be hunting the starter Pokemon to extinction, and that's why they're rare in modern day Sinnoh.
Yeah,
Yes, I will have to disappear at this point, but it's been fun talking to you, and invested Pokemon Snap because it's good, and I'm probably going to pick Rowlet as my first, and then wait. I can only have one because there's not multiple versions of this one. Rowlet it is, then.
I'll probably choose Cyndaquil because it's all these 3 starters. It's the one I've never completed a full playthrough with. Also, bye, Tess.
Bye-bye. It was nice talking to you. And everyone else, watch this stream, even if you're not currently watching it. Watch it now! Good night, and goodbye, and have a nice life.
Bye. And also, if anyone from Fabulous Fish's fanbase is watching, Rowlet is in this game, and it's an owl with a bow tie, so you can seduce Blathers in Pokemon Legends Arceus. The sound better in my head. So, anyone else got anything to say? Anyone in the chat have any interesting observations? Because honestly, now that I no longer have a co-commentator, I'm kind of getting bored and running out of things to talk about. And I think this game's going to end with you capturing Arceus, because it's like something about connecting it to your journey, or maybe you don't capture Arceus and it's just like, but like your protagonist meets it and it plays some part in shaping the future of Sinnoh and it leads into Diamond and Pearl. And that's pretty much all I have to say, so I guess I'm ending the